Today I am at Blackie's pasture walking along Richardson Bay, and it's absolutely gorgeous out here today, like 68 degrees and sunny. It really doesn't get any better than this, guys. This is my perfect weather. But I want to talk about something I really haven't talked about much at all on the channel before, and that is health insurance, okay? Because health insurance premiums were already set to skyrocket in 2026. I went over this in one of my cost of living videos. Insurance premiums are projected to go up about 30% in 2026, and that was before the government shutdown. And as many of you probably know, the government is still in a shutdown, and this could be the longest shutdown ever. The main reason it is shut down is because the Democrats want to have subsidies for Obamacare. They want the COVID era subsidies to continue. And of course, the Republicans said, no, we're going to go back to the regular subsidies. We're not going to have the super stimulus subsidies for healthcare. And the problem is if you think your insurance bill for healthcare is high right now, just wait, because millions of Americans are about to see their health insurance premiums absolutely skyrocket, not because they got sick or changed coverage, but because of the political standoff in Washington, D.C. And by all means, this is not going to be a political video. I'm just going over what the expenses are going to be looking like for people if these subsidies don't get extended. However, the problem with our government in general is they make things more unaffordable, right? They give more subsidies so that way healthcare providers and hospitals and doctors can charge more, which means health insurance premiums go up and the subsidies have to be larger to cover it, just like they do with student loans. That's why tuition is at record high prices right now because of all of the government-backed student loan debt. Same could be said for the housing market. So it is the right idea of thinking not to have subsidies for this stuff, but in reality, we shouldn't have subsidies for any of it. We shouldn't have it for housing, we shouldn't have it for healthcare, and we shouldn't have it for student loans, especially. But to give you a real world example of how this is going to be affecting people, there's a woman in North Carolina that received a letter from her health insurance carrier, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it said that the subsidies that have helped her cover her Affordable Care Act plan were expiring at the end of the year. And right now, her and her husband, both self-employed, pay about $400 a month for health insurance, but another $1,700 is being covered per month by federal subsidies. And so once those vanish, their premiums are going to be $2,100 a month for health insurance, guys. I thought the health insurance premiums that Lizzie and I pay were insane because we pay $1,100 a month. That's the no subsidy price, which is ridiculous, and the insurance is not even that good. It really isn't. In fact, anybody out there who thinks they can get me a better deal than that, a much better deal, we're talking like half or more of a savings, reach out to me by email because I am looking for new health insurance going into 2026 because I am sick of the one that we have and it's just getting too expensive for what we get. So nobody's immune to this, including me, guys. But this couple went through a lot. The wife had breast cancer back in 2020, and the husband had a heart attack in 2024. So needless to say, they have both had their fair share of health problems, and those medical emergencies have left them both drowning in debt, and they're still thousands of dollars away from paying any of it off. Now she's working a second job to prepare for the upcoming premium hike, and if they lose the subsidy, they're worried about how they're going to be able to afford the insurance. But let's rewind 5 years before the pandemic happened. How were they able to afford it then? Oh, that's right, because we never had any of these insane subsidies to begin with, right? So you see how the government creates the problem, and now all of a sudden they run to the rescue with the solution to the problem. How convenient. And trust me, guys, I get both sides of the argument. Like I said, I don't want to make this a political video. I can see both reasons of why we should have them, because a lot of people are going to be in trouble with their insurance and not be able to get health care that they need. But I also see the spending side of it, which is also hypocritical because they're willing to spend on some things, but not others, right? But the fact of the matter is the everyday Joe is caught in the crossfire of this political debate. So according to the health policy group KFF, if these subsidies were to vanish, then the average out-of-pocket premium payments will double from $888 a year to nearly $1,900 a year. And while the politicians continue to argue about who's right or wrong about this, insurance companies have already started sending renewal notices, and the experts say that millions will get unpleasant news this month with letters saying their premiums are jumping in 2025. I haven't gotten that letter yet. I wish I had it for this video, but I'm sure I'm going to be on the chopping block too, which is why I said I'm looking for new health insurance. Right now, about 24 million Americans are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. I am one of them. A lot of people who are self-employed use this. And 90% of people who are enrolled in this program receive government subsidies for their insurance. And if they fail to act before 2026, then the Congressional Budget Office predicts about 4 million people could lose their health insurance coverage by the beginning of next year. And even if you don't lose it, guys, the reality is the premiums were already projected to rise 30% next year, even without any of this happening. So I can't even imagine what the increases are going to be for most people once this actually does happen, because it looks like it probably will. Another 60-year-old man in Phoenix, he just got his letter saying that his financial help is going to end by the end of the year, and his premiums are going to be tripling from $300 a month right now, which is already a lot for one person, to $900 a month. And his deductible still remains the same, $9,000 a month. And I'm sure many of you have noticed something that I've noticed with my health insurance too, that the premiums continue to rise, the deductibles continue to rise. Meanwhile, the coverage continues to dwindle. The amount of doctors and specialists and services available in general has been on the decline. Meanwhile, the premiums have been going up. Sounds a lot like every other type of insurance. Homeowners insurance has been like this, so has car insurance. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. A lot of this video is going to be about insurance. And this guy says he's working 2 jobs right now. If his premiums go up to $900 a month, he will not be able to afford it. And so now he's planning to go uninsured next year and save the money for emergencies instead. And I think a lot of people are going to be forced to do that. And it's not really a bad play. Like, if you're actually saving what you'd be spending on your health insurance premiums and actually saving for an emergency in case you really need it, that's not a terrible plan. It's better than not putting anything away and just rolling the dice and hoping you'll be fine. But it's definitely not great. Another couple here in California is being impacted, but not quite the same way. They're going to be seeing their premiums rise from $1,212 a month to $1,450 a month. And even though it's not a giant increase, a little over $200 a month, and they can technically afford it, one thing that they're going to have to do is scale back the investment in their small business each month. And what that means is, less prosperity for Americans trying to create jobs and create business for themselves in this country. That's what makes our economy go round, is when somebody finds a problem and they give you the solution and they get paid for it. That's what businesses do. And so less business growth means less economic expansion, which means a slower and weaker economy in general. And so open enrollment starts pretty soon, guys. November 1st is when it starts for anybody who is on an Affordable Care Act plan. And a lot of people are going to be looking at downgrading from a gold or a silver plan to a bronze plan for sure. And that usually means higher deductibles as well. Other people are just going to drop off entirely because they're going to determine that the expense is just simply not worth it. It's ridiculous too, because in this country, going without health insurance means that you're not only putting your health at risk, but you're putting your financial future at risk as well, because one emergency can bankrupt somebody easily. People do not have the finances to handle one big emergency and have to deal with the ER and these major doctor bills. That'll completely wipe out pretty much everybody. And a lot of citizens of other countries are fortunate enough not to have to worry about stuff like that, like in Denmark or Canada or other places that have free healthcare. And I say free in quotes with a huge asterisk, because it's not really free. They just pay out the wazoo in taxes each year. Half of their income goes towards the government. And so that's how it's free. There's always a catch to everything. And really, this is more than just about insurance, guys. It's really a story about how fragile the middle class has become. I find myself talking about this more and more because whether it's housing or healthcare or retirement, all of the safety nets that have been built during the pandemic are vanishing, which is a good thing in a sense because we never had any of that stuff before. But the problem is too many people have come to rely on that, which maybe was the plan all along. If you're one of those WEF folks, then this is how we get to a point where you'll own nothing and be happy. But this is why I think the government just needs to go cold turkey on all this stuff. Stop subsidizing all of it. No more government-backed mortgages, no more government-backed student loans, no more government-backed healthcare, all of it. You want to cut spending? Get rid of that stuff and let the free market determine what the price of these things should be. And if it's too expensive, then most people won't buy it, and companies are going to have to fight for your business to survive, which means premiums for all these things are going to have to come down, and the costs will have to come down if they want to survive and have any business. But they don't have to worry about surviving now because the government's always there to come into the rescue.